Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 9 at Keeneland on Breeders' Cup Prep. Saturday is the Grade 1 Claiborne Breeders Futurity. Let's take a look at this field of 2-year-olds prepping for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. We're going 1.1 miles. It is a Grade 1. $600,000 is the purse. A field of 9 quality 2-year-olds entered, including the super impressive number 9 Locked, who earned a 96 Buyer speed figure, winning at a 1.5 turn mile at Saratoga for Todd Pletcher in his second lifetime start. Gonna have to overcome an outside post here, Mike.
Yeah, not too far outside. I don't think anyway, Dan. Post 9 doesn't seem like a death sentence, but I guess we'll see. He'll have to work out some kind of a trip from out there. He ran twice at Saratoga, Dan. Ran really, really well both times. And if he comes back and runs nearly as good as he did breaking his maiden, he'll be a handful in here.
Let's throw up the Time Form U.S. pace projector for the Breeders' Futurity, and not surprisingly, young 2-year-olds, many of them stretching out. We're expecting a fast pace. Awesome Road was very impressive, winning his debut in pace-pressing fashion in a sprint. He looks quick. Timberlake might be fast as well, stretching out off a couple of 7-furlong races. But to me, Mike, I think Awesome Road is going to show speed, and the 7 Just Steel kind of has that turfy pedigree, but he's shown some speed in the past also.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with Just Steel because he could certainly go, Dan. I mean, he did have the rail in the Hopeful, and that kind of feels like it forced his hand. So maybe that's why he was contesting that pace. We'll see what they decide to do here. He could go in this race. I think the key to the pace might really be Timberlake, though. He was pretty fast breaking his maiden. It seemed like he didn't really want to rate in the Hopeful last time after he failed to break sharply. So we'll see if he breaks well here. I think they might go.
We'll start things off with a lone 3-time winner in the field, and it's a New York bred, the number 1, the Wine Steward, coming off of a victory in the Funny Side Stakes, going 3/4 mile. This race, of course, against fellow New York breds. Now, the Wine Steward kind of bobbled a little bit at the start, and then was 4 wide all the way around the turn and through into the stretch. He's got to catch this horse on the lead. He's going to dig down. He's going to do it, and he's going to do it with a respectable Buyer of 86. I think he has enough pedigree to stretch out, Mike. I think his Dam's a Half to Giant Game and Isotherm, a couple of nice middle distance horses. Good inside post for Michael Maker.
Yeah, this is good stuff in this race that we're watching. I know it's only against New York breds, but this horse ran really well in there because the runner-up of that race seemed like he ran a pretty big race on the lead, Dan, and this horse came and got him in relatively fast time. And by the way, that runner-up did come back and just blew out another field of New York bred stakes winners, stakes horses in his next start. So maybe that race is pretty good. The hurdles aren't insignificant here. He's got to stretch out. He's got to do it against open company again, but this horse has looked pretty good so far. He's got the pedigree to go long.
I'm still trying to figure out how good the 2 Timberlake is. He ran into a very good 2-year-old. Rhyme Schemes is excellent. Unfortunately, he's on the sidelines right now. And then he graduated second time out where he set the pace. He kind of was pressured by a 1,000,000-to-1 shot, put that horse away, and then looked good in the stretch. He was second in the Hopeful last time out. The race I'm going to show you right now is the favorite. He's beaten by a 1,000,000-to-1 shot. But as Mike mentioned in the open, look at him. He's sort of down in behind horses. This is a very unfamiliar spot for him. He's eventually going to try to get a split here in between, and he'll finish up pretty well to finish second. What do you make of the blinkers coming off?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I can understand why the blinkers are off, if only because he just didn't settle early, and hopefully he didn't break great. And then it just didn't seem like he wanted to rate. Then he sort of pulled his way up behind the leaders. He took a lot of dirt in behind horses. I guess he ran fine. Listen, I was really taken with his maiden win 2-back. He absolutely smashed that field, and he looked really good doing it in fast time. The question is, and I guess I'll ask this question to you right now, Dan. The Hopeful is won by, as you said, a 1,000,000-to-1 shot. It returns a 72 Buyer speed figure, a race that actually looked pretty good on the way in. Was the Hopeful a bad race?
It looks that way right now, doesn't it? Off of a slow speed figure in a race won by a 1,000,000-to-1 shot, although that horse has done nothing wrong in his career. This horse, though, you could give some legitimate excuses to stretching out. Right now, it's all about price with Timberlake. 7-2 seems fair based on what he did in his second lifetime start. I wouldn't go too much shorter. The number 3 is Awesome Road. This is his stablemate, trained by Brad Cox. He is a very expensive son of Quality Road, and you can't argue with what he did in his career debut, going 3/4 mile. He showed good speed. They bet him down. They knew he could run, and he drew off in the stretch with an extremely respectable 88 Beyer speed figure. He could be on the lead, and he could be the goods with this short stretch at Keeneland.
Yeah, agreed. And he also did, I think he just deserves maybe even a little extra credit for the debut, Dan, because first of all, he's bred to go long, and they started him out at 6 furlongs, and he just got locked up contesting the pace the entire way in there. Managed to put away Stronghold, who came back to win his next race, and just kept going under the wire. He earned that win. It came back fast. He's bred to stretch out. He goes for a top trainer. There's plenty to like here.
Baytown Chatterbox is the number 4. This horse is a prior stakes winner. Talk about big price stakes winners. He was 60-1 when he won the Ellis Park Juvenile, and he got a good setup in a pretty slow race. He returned in the hopeful. He was very wide that day, but I don't think he was winning with a good trip. He's probably going to need a lifetime best, but his lone victory, one of his 2 victories, came around 2 turns. That was his maiden win at Horseshoe Indianapolis.
All right. And we already know that he can outrun his odds. I guess we'll just say that about it because he did pull off one big upset already in a stakes race. The hopeful set up pretty well for closers. He was trying to rally. He never really came close. He looks like he's in too tough.
The 5 is West Saratoga, and this horse has improved, stretching out to a mile in his last 2 starts in Kentucky. At Ellis Park, you've got that 1.5 turn out of the chute. He won his maiden that day in pace-setting fashion. Like the fact that he came from off the pace to win the 1-turn Iroquois last time out at a nice price. Has to improve from a buyer standpoint, but like that he has a lot of foundation.
I like that about him too. I'll say this, Dan. When he broke his maiden, he did some good things in that race, and he was much the best at the end. But the way he finished in that race didn't really make me feel like he wanted to go much farther than the mile. He did come back to his credit, and he won the Iroquois in a totally different fashion from off the pace. So that's a good sign for him. I won't knock him too much. He's going to be a big price in here, but I'm not totally sold on him.
The 6 Generous Tipper looks like a horse that might be coming into his own in the right time. He was wired by West Saratoga in his dirt debut in his second lifetime start. That was over the Ellis Park surface that seemed to play to speed for most of the meet. Coming off of that race, he showed improved early speed in start number 3. He won very easily. It appears the distance is okay for this horse, and that 86 Beyer last time out fits pretty well with these.
Like the progression he's making anyway. I actually thought he ran pretty well behind West Saratoga 2 starts back. He didn't have a huge excuse, but he didn't get, I wouldn't call it a perfect trip in that race. And I thought he ran on pretty well. He just smashed that field last time. I mean, the 2 horses that took him on early, one on the backstretch, one on the turn, they were both really big long shots, but he just dusted those horses and won easy.
Wayne Lucas's 2-year-olds have been firing this year, and usually after a start or 2. The number 7 Just Steel won his 3rd lifetime start. He beat Locked when that horse was making his career debut, and the key to that race was Just Steel was able to get right up close to the pace in that spot. Got the jump on Locked, was gamely holding off the runner-up. In the hopeful, he just got caught up in a speed duel from the inside. It might not have worked out for him. I don't mind distance, but again, I look at this pedigree, and I just see a lot of turf.
Yeah, that's true. I guess with the hopeful, Dan, I think you and I kind of agree that the hopeful may not be that good a race, but I guess if you want to take horses out of it, you sort of want horses that were up towards the front like Just Steel was, because it felt like a competitive pace, and this horse was involved all the way. He was exhausted in the final 1/8 of a mile there and wound up giving way at the end, but maybe he just ran a little bit better than it looks.
The number 8 Northern Flame was beaten by Timberlake in his career debut. He was beaten by Generous Tipper second time out, but he does have a win around a 2-turn mile and a 16th. His 3rd lifetime start at Churchill Downs, he was able to get to the lead. He got a very nice rated trip under Julian Leparoux, and he sprinted on home. He seems to be improving. I'm not sure that trip is available to him here as he steps back up in class.
I appreciate that he has the win around 2 turns, Dan, and it's clearly the best race this horse has ever run, but he probably can't make the lead in here. And I'm not really convinced that he can do it another way.
Locked's the big name coming into this race. While he was beaten by Just Steel in his career debut, he didn't break very well, had to split horses, and was running on at the end in the manner of a horse that might appreciate extra distance. He got it in start number 2, going a mile. He showed much improved early speed. The race is over before they turn into the stretch, and this horse wins in the manner of a Morning Breeze with a 96 Beyer speed figure. A repeat of this race, and the Gunrunner Colt goes back to the winner's circle.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, he goes on here at the end of this race, Dan. He's basically ridden out, but this is still a last quarter and 24 flat, and he's not really being asked for his best here. This is a really strong performance. His debut he tipped his hand first time out. He ran really, really well that day without a great trip. He just looks like a good horse.
He's the horse to beat, and he's your pick as we take a look at our top selections for the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity. Timberlake's your second choice in here, Mike. He's very tactical and he drew well, but for you, it's locked. I think he's tactical enough locked where he can work out a trip without losing too much ground going into the first turn.
That's how I looked at it too. I just like him, Dan. I think he's one of the better 2-year-olds out there right now. And even as I say that, I don't want to totally give up on Timberlake yet because I really did like his first couple of starts. And I don't want to be too hard on him for the hopeful yet. I think he's better than that.
I think Locke's the horse to beat, but the Wine Steward to me is interesting at a price. He lacks the sizzle of a horse like Locked, but he's very, very steady. And I like that he overcame some trouble to win last time out. The funny side, a little bit of a bobble at the start, wide trip, very good inside post here for a horse with some tactical speed. 9236 for Mike, 1936 for me in the Grade 1 Claiborne Breeders' Futurity. A nice prep for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Good luck.